Pablo, I'm wondering. That game looked different. It was so end to end. It never got compact and tight in the middle of the field. And how much of that is Kansas City, and how much of that was because you literally have three different midfielders than we're used to you playing with, and that's going to give games a different look.
Yeah, I think it was more so just our shape behind the ball, our rest defense. We had a lot of numbers behind, and it feels safe. But what happens is when you're attacking the box, and we do so with numbers, if our midfielders aren't pressed up against their midfielders, they have enough time to turn, look up, and find an outlet pass. So, funny you bring it up. That was the focus of our video this morning, and that was everything that we did in training today, which was the closest guy has got to get the ball carrier's head down. The rest of the group can move behind the press. But if the first person doesn't move, we're wasting a lot of guys back here that can't move beyond the first person. Right, so our rest defense has to be much better. Our mentality to it feels risky to go out and get pressure on the ball, but it doesn't matter because we're always secure behind the ball, and Jay Glad will clean anything up. So that was the reason why I got open. I thought from the 15-minute to the halftime, we did a much better job of that, and then in the second half we took on a little bit more pressure, and that was a different.
I assume you're like most coaches, everybody's important, but the spine of the team is crucial. And a goalkeeper and one center back, the 5, 6, or 7 guys you consider playing in the middle of the field, you only had a couple of them. Mm-hmm. So to go and get a point on the road, regardless of how it looked, probably feels pretty good.
Yeah, no, it does feel good. Obviously, Emeka and Ojeda haven't been with the group for about a month now. And Nelson and Pablo are not only trying to make an impact, but they're also getting the reps that Emeka and Ojeda had all of last year, which isn't always easy. So there's been a lot of re-emphasizing of points and principles. And Diego hasn't been around either. But the most important thing for our group is the next guy steps up, and the guys I think are doing a good job. Obviously, I think we can clean up some stuff, and most importantly is the stuff in the final third where some of our decision making is still not good enough to score multiple goals in a game, but it's definitely improving, and I think you can see it in a guy like Goza, who's now slowing down in really important moments, and that for me is, that's impossible to teach. That's time and experience, and he's learning at a rapid pace, and that's all credit to him.
Johnny Russell had a good opportunity, and it looked like everyone was playing at 80 miles an hour, and he was coming in about 35, but he's where he needed to be, and then just missed the shot. But then on the goal he scored, it looked like that was top speed, used his body, little bump to throw the defender off. Doesn't seem like many people on this club would have been able to finish the way he finished there.
Yeah, no, I think, again, Johnny's really relying on his experience to be in good spots. We've been talking about how much width do we need on the weak side, and we've been talking to Dom and Goes when he played there, and they're often probably 20 yards wider because they want to get the ball with time and space. Johnny's experience puts him in a position where he's playing back shoulder. He knows the cross is coming, and then the little nuanced, as you described, a bump to create a space for himself, and then to be brave and finish it. So, again, I think this is why experience is worth its weight in gold, is because every moment in the game of football is going to be different. Sometimes you need to be a little bit wider. Sometimes you need to be a bit narrow. And unfortunately, as coaches, we can't be on the field, put them in positions to do this. And so when you got a guy that's 35, 36 years old and been as lethal as he's been in the attacking positions, he knows exactly what to do.
You've used a lot of combinations across the back four. Have you settled on 4 yet, or is it still a week to week, month to month, we're going to figure it out?
Yeah, no, I think, the last couple games, I think we've improved defensively after the LA Galaxy game, and I feel like Sam Junko had a standout performance against KC. Again, I think there's always a lot of things. Like I want to be consistent, but then Vera isn't available for the game. There goes consistency. There's just no such thing. There's just who's playing well and who's available will step in there. But I think the collective understanding has improved in the last few games, and that involves the pivots as well. Doing a better job of denying central stuff, and so we'll see how we go with this, but I feel better about the way the back four are moving together as a group and defending and winning their own individual duels.
What challenges does St. Louis present?
Well, they're a team that like to get after the ball and press, so we have to be extra purposeful with the ball. And again, a team that likes to get out on the counter press, our counterattack. So then what we talked about with SKC this weekend, if we give these guys this much space, they'll eat us alive. This is what they pride themselves on, is defending, winning the ball, and then breaking out. So if our positions, our starting positions behind the ball aren't good, and if our reactions aren't good, we'll be playing right into their hands. And so I think and obviously they got a couple guys, and Klaus has been doing really well of late up front, and he's been a thorn in our side. So neutralizing him, which again, if it's a foot race with him and Jay, I'm going to put my money on Jay. But there's got to be pressure on the ball to make it predictable.
What was your reaction when you watched Diego Luna celebrate his goal for the national team?
Yeah, I think it was awesome. I think, again, him being in a spot that he can score a goal versus being behind the ball to get the ball to pass it, I think is awesome. And the other part too is like, the way he took that the way he took that play was it wasn't comfortable the way he trapped it, and he just hit it first time. And I think that is like the nuance element of scoring a goal, is if it's always deliberate and it's going here and it's going here. Yeah, you're going to score goals sometimes, but it's that instinct that he has to score the goal, and then obviously celebrating his first goal for the national team. I think it's pretty powerful stuff.
That joy is infectious, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. I mean, again, another young player that's playing at a really high level, and in a lot of ways, being probably the most impactful player for their attack on the U.S. team.
Pablo, as the season has broken down, the schedule, the matches, looks like RSL's fortunes can either turn one way or the other through July with 4 home games out of 5. How do you feel about how you're going to take advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah, again, I would just, my brain doesn't go to game 3, game 2. It barely goes to this weekend, because no one's guaranteed to be alive tomorrow. So it's like we can play that game, or we can put our heads down and what do we have before us is a training session and working on what we did. Like I said earlier, I think these last 2 games we've approached the right way. We've played well enough to win these games, and so it's really about fine-tuning the details from the previous game, but continuing to work on the boxes. And so, we talked about when we came back, we have to win 10 games to put ourselves in consideration, right? We got 1 off the docket in DC, let this one slip, but now we have a chance at home this weekend. And so the objective is not wasting our energies in games that are beyond us, putting 100% of our focus, our energy, and our spirit into getting the maximum output for this game, and then just taking it one game at a time.
You've got a Mecca out for a little while, and Ojeda, who knows when he'll be back with
Who knows?
Thoughts on the midfield, Palacio and Ruiz, and who comes up, who fills the spot if something happens there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the interesting thing is the qualities of Emeka and Ojeda are completely contrasted with Nelson and Pablo, right? We have 2 dribblers that break lines versus 2 passers that break lines. And so I would say Emeka and Ojeda are more defensive-minded midfielders, where Nelson and Pablo are more attacking. So it's been a lot of work on their part to really get up to speed. I think with Pablo, he made a couple really nice plays in the attack, and I think I said this earlier, where I just think Pablo needs to express himself a bit more. I think when I think about the game in its context, I'd like to see him get on the ball more. I'd like to see him take more chances towards goal. I'd like to see him orchestrate and conduct more. But I think he's done a good job. And then if something happens to the 2 of those, Noel Kaliskin will come in the middle, and Bodie will probably come into right back.
You talk a little bit about Johnny Russell. How has that been, having someone with so much experience on the team, and how has he been?
Yeah, he's been fantastic. Not only in the way he conducts himself in training, but in and around the guys. Wolfie got hurt last week, and he was the first one up the stairs to put his arm around Wolfie. I mean, something that is just like bred in his leadership ability. And then from a footballing perspective, it's really funny, because I think with these type of players, and you could say the same about Chicho and Andres, is it's a moment that doesn't seem dangerous in the attack, but when they're on the ball, any moment can be dangerous. And I think that's what's different between guys that play strictly to the game model and have to rely on that, and guys that are artists and color outside the line, so to speak, is that anytime he gets the ball, anything can happen. He can make a slip pass, he can take someone on, drop a shoulder and hit a bomb. So his experience and his quality has lent himself to 2 games where he started and 2 goals, and I think you can't argue that is something that we've been lacking. And I said it after the game is like we need a couple more of those, couple more of those moments to really break the spirit of our opponents. But he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, I was talking to Nelson earlier, and he said that not having Mecca and Ojeda here is a great opportunity for him to showcase what he can do. Can you talk a little bit about the differences? My question is there, or have you thought about maybe mixing those, since you said one set of midfielders is more defensive and the other 2 are more attacking?
Yep, absolutely. I think for various reasons, the opportunity hasn't really presented itself. And I think there's been a couple games where they've each played with each other, but I think moving forward, and that's why we want to get a really good look, and that's why I'm asking Pablo to really express himself, and Nelson as well, is because I think when you combine the two groups, you have a good balance between their attacking abilities and defensive abilities as well. But I think Ojeda had such a good start to the season, it was really difficult at any point to pull him out. And again, just based on his performances alone, made it difficult to make tactical changes. But I think moving forward with him now out and these guys playing a lot of games, bringing them up to speed and mixing those pairs will be something we'll look at for sure.
Yeah, and what has been like, I guess, something beneficial, I guess you kind of talked about it a little bit, but something that you kind of wish Pablo and Nelson would have that Mecca and Ojeda had, and vice versa?
It's not that I wish. They are who they are. I think they're all individuals. I think the things that we've been working with the Mecca and Ojeda with is always having a body shape to pass the ball forward. And what ends up happening is, because they're very dribble dominant players, they're always kind of looking down at feet. And so if I'm looking down at feet and I receive the ball here, I just know I have to get in front of your feet to get 2 yards in front of you, and then I can break a line with a pass. Where Pablo and Nelson are more looking third layer, second layer. So as they're receiving the ball, they're looking here. So it's just you're trying to help the tendencies of the players to be, because at the end of the day, you want to have a well-rounded midfielder, a guy that can dribble off the beat the line off the dribble, break lines with a pass, also get in the final third and get at the top of the box. This game in particular, what these guys did pretty well, Nelson and Pablo both had a shot at the top of the box. And again, one of the things that we've been talking about is when we're in that final third, we need numbers, right? And Nelson had a shot inside the box, Pablo had one just at the top. And I think that's how we can get more chances on goal and also be able to repress in a way that makes it so that we create multiple opportunities from one attack.
Thank you.
Pablo, William Agata has 1 goal so far, and I think early on he's a little bit of a marked man. It seemed like there were 2 center backs everywhere. He was the one guy people feared. Now that Gozo scored a couple, Johnny scored a couple. Do things open up for him? Is there something you've talked to him about tweaking him, what he's doing to get the ball in the back of the net?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think he's doing a lot of good things. I think really relies on good balls being fed to him in and around the 6-yard box. And I think that's where he scored a lot of his goals, right? So it's always staying up on the highest line. He's not a player that's going to create a goal for himself. That's just not his game. So I'd say just, again, continue doing what we're doing. I think he had a couple good looks in this last game. One, he didn't get a good thing on it, and the other one, he went with his left when he probably should have gone with his right inside the box. So he's putting himself in good spots. It's just about execution, I think. And again, I think with goal scorers like Gozo right now, he just feels like he can do anything, get in, and it's a belief system. It's not reality, but in his mind, it's real.
Did Sporting's back line play a little deeper? And if so, is that just because who they are, or is that because they watch Gozo get in behind and they're like, we're not letting that happen?
No, we were anticipating a team that was going to drop a little bit deeper than normal, than most teams play us. But when they tried to press, I think we did a good job of getting behind. Diego got in, Gozo got in, Willie got in, Johnny got in. So, again, I think for us, our attack is well balanced. 3/4 of the way up, I think it's some of the better stuff in the league. but where we're struggling is in the money zone. So I've come up with an idea: is just call that the 6-yard box to the 18, call it the millionaire zone, and just get in there, just get in that millionaire zone, and you'll see how things happen. Don't hang out here. This is the poor zone out here. There's nothing good out here. It's in there that where the money's made.
Thanks, Pablo.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.